Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to another episode of the Biohacked Life podcast. I've been excited for this one as soon as she agreed to come on. I literally was driving my business partner crazy this weekend. We took a road trip to San Antonio, 9 hours in the car, and I kept talking about having you on the show. Wow. I'm excited. So guys, those of you who don't know, this is Toni Soto. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, you are.
Fantastic. And she has an amazing, amazing story that we're going to talk about today. But first things first, what are you gracious for today?
This opportunity.
Are you?
And being here. Yes.
I love it. Yes. That makes me even more excited. All right. This is another fun question that I love asking. In sports, we have walkout songs. Mm-hmm. In life, not necessarily. But if you had to have a walkout song for life, a song that just gets you in the mood, gets you ready to go tackle life, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. You're going to judge me for this.
No, I won't. I've heard some crazy ones.
Walk like an Egyptian.
I love it. Why is that? Please tell me.
I don't know. It's just a cool song. You know, there's no...
Did you grow up with that song?
I did not, but it just seems like when I first started, when I decided that I wanted to compete, I thought that would be a really cool song to walk out to, but I found out later that I didn't have a choice to pick my own song.
No, not in your level. What you do, they do not allow songs. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So the craziest one I've ever heard, so you'll understand. I interviewed a guy from a rock band, a hardcore rock band. And his answer to that question was Roar by Katy Perry.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good song, though.
It's a great song, but I from him
yeah.
and Ryan Patrick from the band Otherwise, I'm like, what?
Did it not fit his personality?
Oh, it did. He's got a loud personality. He's a great human being.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, guys, Toni's got an amazing, amazing story of overcoming, of motivation, and I want to get into it.
Okay.
So, guys, for those of you who don't know Toni has cerebral palsy, and she is an NPC competitor.
Yes.
Yeah, she won't let me talk about her job because apparently it's top secret, and she don't want to shoot me today. But what was it like? I want to dig into a little bit of the past here. What was it like growing up with cerebral palsy?
Growing up, I had a good childhood. I had a really good childhood. I did experience being teased and picked on. So I had, classmates who would try to emulate the way that I walk, and then, laugh and point while doing it. I had a lot of kids come up to me, why do you walk like that? Or, I was constantly reminded that I walked different.
Right.
From the rest of my classmates, or, if there was some sort of physical activity in PE and running was involved, classmates would come up to me and say, why can't you run? Or, why don't you run? So
how did you react to that?
I was honest and just told them that, I wasn't able to. Mm-hmm. As a kid, I did run a little bit, but it wasn't the same way,
right,
as my peers. So a lot of times I just learned that honesty was best. And it seemed to confuse my classmates, but it answered their question at the same time. So they left confused, but they were satisfied with my honesty. So
for your honesty, tell the audience out there what exactly cerebral palsy is.
Cerebral palsy is a neurological condition that can occur most commonly from a traumatic brain injury. In my case, when I was born, I wasn't given oxygen. So right after I was born.
That's pretty common though, isn't it? That's a common cause of cerebral palsy.
I think so. I think it's most commonly happens during birth. And so I wasn't given oxygen right away. I think my mom told me that I was without oxygen for 10 minutes at least.
Oh, wow. Like, that's not like, hey, 30 seconds or a minute.
Right.
10 minutes without oxygen? It's, well, you're a miracle then. Like, thank God you're here.
And then on top of that, I was born prematurely.
Okay.
So in the process of me not having that oxygen, it caused my brain to bleed.
Right.
And so when I was about a little over a year, my parents noticed that I wasn't walking, and then I had one of my grandparents actually tell my parents that I was unusually stiff and that they needed to take me to a doctor so that I could be checked out. And they took my grandparents' advice, and I was diagnosed from that point with having CP,
Gotcha.
cerebral
So
palsy.
it's static? Is that the correct term?
Yes, I believe that. I think yes.
Okay.
So
I did a little
I think it's spastic.
Spastic? Yeah, I knew some S word.
Yeah. There's several different types, and I think
is.
that's the type that I have.
And are you like waist down, right, left? Like, how's it affect you?
Predominantly on my left side. So,
Okay.
My left, you can see it in my left shoulder, my left arm, my left leg is weaker than my right. When I was a kid, I used to lean more so to my left side because that was my weaker side, and I
Right.
still do in some points I do lean a little bit, but I've learned to, sit right back up.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy. So, guys, just for layman's terms, your brain, of course, sends signals to your limbs to move, and with some sort of a TBI at birth, which is what you experienced, that it's just that highway of electrons.
Right.
Now it's not firing like it should. Am I correct in saying that?
You are.
Okay, fantastic. Wow, I love this. So you found out, like, you got diagnosed when you were around 1 and went through school, and you got picked on, of course, but like and you told me how you reacted with honesty, which is amazing because most kids would, fight back and get all anxious about it.
Oh, I had my moments where I would, it made me emotional, and I did have a lot of days and nights where I would go home crying and, to my parents, because, I didn't understand why they didn't understand.
Right.
And so, my parents were there to tell me that when people pick on you, they're not happy with themselves.
Projection.
That's something that, there's something within them that they're not happy with. So
Right.
they want to make you feel sad too. But there's nothing wrong with you. You may
Amen.
be a little different on the outside, but you still can do what anybody else can do.
I love your parents for telling you that because it's so true.
It is.
It's so true.
It's carried me through life.
Did you ever struggle with why me?
Not necessarily why me. I did have my moments as a child where I thought, what would life be like if I didn't have cerebral palsy?
Right.
What if I, quote unquote, walked straight?
What if I was normal, but what is normal?
Right. So I did have those moments, but as I got older, I started to retract that way of thinking and started to realize that I am this way for a reason, and that I wouldn't have the appreciation for life that I have if I didn't have CP. It'd probably be easier for me to take a lot of things for granted.
Right.
But because of everything that I've dealt with, and just with having CP, it's made me appreciate life more. It's made me appreciate people more. It's made me be more mindful of how I treat people.
Amen. It does. It does, especially because, I wasn't born with CP, but I was, a fat little kid. I have no problem saying that. I was, obese my entire childhood.
Wow.
And battling with that weight. Now, the difference was like I could do something about it, but just because like the negative emotions, I couldn't at the time until I, started gaining more awareness of my decision-making model. But the bullying's just not fun.
It's not.
It's not. I mean, you're trying to live a happy life and you're trying to fit in, you're trying to be accepted, but every time you try to step out in that, somebody's there to tell you that, oh, you don't belong here, or you're not good enough to be here, or they just, the kids just project all kind of negative things on you. And if we're not careful, we can like literally let that ruin our lives.
You're absolutely right.
So do you contribute your outlook to your parents?
Yes.
Yes. You had amazing parents.
Yes. Wonderful.
That's awesome. I agree. My parents always, like you, told me that, hey, you can do anything you want. That's why I found it so touching when Drew Brees broke the record. Did you watch that moment when he went to his kids?
I did not watch the moment, but I saw it in the media after it aired, and I just love Drew Brees.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm not really big on football. I'm still learning. My dad's a huge Saints fan, so I love them by default.
Right.
But Drew Brees is just extra special.
He is.
So I just love everything about him, and
Oh man, when he went to his kids and said, "You can accomplish anything in this world you want if you're willing to work for it."
Yes.
I was like, oh.
It's so true.
And to find out he tells his kids that every night before they go to bed, I'm like, this dude's amazing. Mm-hmm. If more parents would just love and be in that state of mind with their kids, that would literally change the world.
Absolutely.
So you grew up, through adolescence, and you're trying to figure out kind of your place in the world.
Right.
You're going on this journey. When did it? And I hate to say easier, but when did it start to become easier mentally?
I'd say toward the end of high school, going into college, and then throughout college, it just got better. And then, after college, it's still good. It's just, I think when you're growing up, when you're in elementary school, when you're in middle school, and even the beginning of high school, you don't really have anything else to focus on except for each other.
Right.
Because you're around each other, you're around your classmates 8 hours a day. You do go outside, but for the most part, your life is keeping up with everyone else's life and what they're up to. So once you don't have that anymore, you're forced to focus on everything else that's been existing outside of that. So
right.
that's real life. And so when you realize that you're in real life now and you have to focus on yourself, you don't have time to focus on anybody else.
I love that. It's so true. I mean, you're so externally focused, and a lot of people in today's world are still very externally focused. Mm-hmm. I have to have this job to complete me. I have to marry this person to complete me. And they're always looking for external validation. Mm-hmm. You started looking for internal validation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you don't take the external stuff with you when it's your time to go home. If you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. When your time is done here, you don't take that with you. But what people remember is how they were treated. So right. How did you treat them? How did you make them feel? So people don't forget that. They might forget what you look like, mm-hmm. but they'll never forget, the impact that you had on their life.
Amen. Did you want to play, because you're talking about, growing up, mm-hmm. did you ever want to try to play sports, or did you ever feel left out because you couldn't participate, or what happened with that? Because I'm sure that was part of your life.
I did have a moment where I wanted to be a cheerleader, but I didn't really have an interest in playing basketball. The thought of volleyball crossed my mind at one point, but and even tennis, but it didn't last. The thought of being a cheerleader did last a little bit longer, but I had to kind of sit down and think, why did I want to be a cheerleader? And honestly, I like the outfit. I wanted to wear the cute outfit. But if I guess if my school had a swim team, I would have done that because
Really?
I love to swim. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I was a fat kid when I was little. I was on the swim team.
That's awesome though.
I was the only kid on the swim team to not wear the Speedos. I wore Umbros. Like back when Umbros were cool.
I remember.
That was me.
That's okay though. That's okay. Look at where you are now though.
It's been a journey. I want to point out something you just said that is a life lesson for everyone. You wanted to do something, and you said, I wanted to be a cheerleader. But then you had to say, okay, why do I want to be a cheerleader? That why question is a beautiful question. So many times we do things in life for the wrong reasons. But by asking yourself why, now you're getting to the real reason of what, okay, I want to be a cheerleader. Why do I want to be a cheerleader? You know, looking back in my life, I enjoyed my football career. It was amazing. I wanted to play football because that's what my dad did, and that's what my older brother was doing. That's the reason I was propelled into playing football. And, you know, I developed a love for it later, a love for the camaraderie being around the guys and the love of, you know, playing on Saturdays in front of 80,000 people. It's no experience like it. But what the original reason was because, you know, I wanted to prove my worth to my dad. And the fact that you did that, that just shows you how amazing of a person you are.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. And it's a lesson that in my coaching practice, I'm trying to get adults to understand. And you did it when you were in what, high school? Middle school?
Middle school, high school.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Like I'm literally like, I'll coach my clients. I'm like, well, why do you want to do that? Why do you think that's a good idea? And they're like, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. You hadn't thought about the reason you want to make a major life decision? You probably should start there.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, that's, guys, are you hearing this? This is amazing. From there, go off to college?
Yes.
Where'd you go to college?
University of South Alabama. Go Jags.
USA. Okay. What'd you major in?
Speech and hearing sciences.
Why?
Because, well, honestly, I started out, I wanted to, I actually wanted to be a pediatrician. And I realized that didn't work out when I transferred to South. I actually started college at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, the Jefferson Davis campus. Went there for 2 years and then transferred to South. And when I got to South, I had a really hard time and just realized that that wasn't the path for me. It was stressing me out. And so my dad actually suggested that I write down 5 careers that I think I would be interested in.
Hold on. I hate to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
What do your parents do for a living?
My mom worked in customer service.
Okay.
And my dad for Gulf Power, and then my dad worked for the Navy.
Like I'm just trying to figure out, because you have like so much personal growth in you at a very young age.
I'll just have to tell you, my parents are both very wise.
Apparently,
Yeah.
like I'm hearing it come out of you, and it's not like, you know, I became like into personal growth a lot later in life when I realized I really needed it. But you're like in college, in high school, and you're talking about personal growth stuff, and it's coming from your parents. So were they like, did they read a lot? Did they like, where did it come from them?
My dad does read a lot, and he read a lot back then. But they're both, life has taught them a lot.
Right.
And so they have taken what life has taught them and has instilled it in both me and my sister.
Right.
And so, and even still to this day, even though we're both, full grown adults, they're still there to, remind us, hey, don't forget.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Both my parents are coaches. So, like, they're just naturally ready for those life lessons. Like, let's have coach time. I'm like, time out. Because, I keep hearing point after point you're making, and it's all like in the personal growth world. And part of living the biohacked life is that personal growth world. I call it like red pill thinking, breaking outside of the matrix and being in a growth mindset, which you obviously have. And I just wish more people thought like you.
Oh,
Wow. All right. So let's finish college.
okay.
What'd you graduate with? Speech?
Speech and hearing sciences.
Speech and hearing science. Okay. I actually like that. I wish more people were better communicators.
Oh,
So did you use that when you graduated?
no, I didn't. God had a completely different path for me, which is what I'm doing now, and forever grateful.
Awesome. I love it. So, okay, let's get into this 'cause I want to talk about this, guys. So we've talked about her childhood and how she grew up and, dealing with CP. You decided to be an NPC bikini competitor.
Yes.
What made you want to do that? Like, what was the initial thought process, the initial motivation to go do that?
Well, I actually, the personal trainer that I had at the time, I had been working with this personal trainer for about 3.5, 4 years.
What made you get a personal trainer?
What made me get a personal trainer, I wasn't pleased with how I looked physically and how I was feeling internally. And I knew that I needed to do something to be active because I was just sitting around. I would, come home from work, eat, and of course eat throughout the day,
Right.
and then, go to sleep, get up, and repeat and do it again. And
Is CP degenerative?
No, but it's best to stay as active as you can. So in my case, with my muscles, with me having the type of CP that I have, which is the spastic type, my muscles are naturally tight.
Right.
So I was always encouraged by my doctors to stay physically active in some way, whether it be continuing physical therapy throughout my life or, getting into a gym, do something to keep myself active because, they didn't want that to allow me to become immobile.
Right.
So I, around the time that I decided to get a personal trainer, when I had that moment where I was kind of sick and tired of, of the way that I looked and felt, I did some research and called a few places. And this one gym that I called, they had the guy that I spoke with, he said, "We would love to help you. I have a personal trainer."
By the way, welcome to downtown Biloxi, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the guy that I spoke with, he said, "I have a personal trainer that I can set you up with, and we would love to have you." And so when we met, he basically started out from pretty much cradle to grave. I was to the point where I couldn't even lift my leg up off the ground. And so he had to get up, he had to actually get on the floor and lift my leg up for me.
Did you have a background in CP at all?
Not that I'm aware of. I know he told me that he had a few clients, or at least one client that had a stroke, I think.
Right.
But he was just trying to create that mind to muscle connection. And so we kept working at it. So to make a very long story short.
We got all the time in the world. we got plenty of time to talk about this. But go ahead.
He actually decided to start competing himself. And so he invited me to battle on the Gulf Coast.
Yes.
The best competition show.
Shout out to Duck Sellers.
Yes.
Ironworks Gym. Go ahead.
Yes. Shameless plug, but not shameless, right?
No, we never do anything shameless around here.
He was competing in the show, and he invited me to come. And so I said that I would. And so I invited my mom to come along. And we were actually running late. And so I almost turned around. We were almost to the casino, and I told my mom, just turn around. She said, no, 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 we're going to make it. So I was texting my trainer, and I said, are you on stage yet? And he said, no. And then right when I made it into the auditorium, and the bikini girls were on stage. And I was looking at them, and I was mesmerized. And just a little backstory. At this point, I was looking for something that could challenge me a little bit more. I had been in the gym for a few years, at this point, and I was looking for something that could challenge me a little bit more than what I was doing in the gym. And so I was watching these girls on stage, and they were just, in their beautiful bikinis, and they just looked like they were in the best shape. And they just looked so poised and elegant. And I thought to myself, I just had this quick thought, what if I could do that? I want to do that. And I looked at my mom and I said, I want to do it. And she said, are you serious? And I said, yes, I want to do it. And she said, well, you can do it. And if you do it, I'll help you.
Go, Mom.
I know. She's awesome. And so she said, if you do it, I'll help you. And I said, really? And she said, yes. So I had made it up in the back of my mind that I was going to do it. And so like that next week, I told my trainer, I said, I want to do this. I want to compete next year. And he said, are you serious? And I said, yes, I'm serious. I want to do it. And so when things started happening, it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Right.
But here we are.
So you decided to do it. Did you decide to compete in that show the next year?
Yes.
Okay. So you had like a whole year. How long have you been working out at this point?
I have been working out at this point, I'd say about the 4-year mark.
Okay. Gotcha. So about the 4-year mark. So in the gym, how many days a week before you started?
I was only meeting with my trainer twice a week, but I would go in sometimes on my own and do, just do regular cardio.
And what was your diet like before?
Standard. I would make sure to eat breakfast, maybe like oatmeal, sausage, and then lunch. It was kind of, I would kind of wing it. You know, sometimes I would eat out, sometimes I wouldn't. If it wasn't leftovers from the night before, it would be, Subway or Murky Waters or,
Absolutely.
Pizza.
So just the standard American diet.
Yes.
Which is sad.
That's okay. It's good stuff.
I love that acronym. Oh, it is. I didn't get to 300 pounds by accident. I love food. Okay, so you make the commitment, and before you made the commitment, though, you were just kind of just living life, working out a couple of days a week to help your CP and help you feel better about yourself. You go to the competition, and you see these amazing women on stage, and you're like, I want to do that.
Yes.
You get back, you tell your trainer, hey, game time, let's do this. And he agrees to get you ready.
Yes.
For the competition a year later.
Yes.
What did that start like? Like, how did that start from there?
Well, he set me up with the nutritionist that he was working with. And so we had that out of the way. And then he just, he would, gradually increase the reps, that I was doing on the machines, and told me that I needed to make sure that I came into the gym, more often than what I was. And
yeah, if you want to compete, you might want to come in more than 2 days a week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was like, you've got to do more cardio. And so I started working with the nutritionist that he had set me up with, and we worked together for quite some time, and then it became a bit of a financial.
Right. Competing's not cheap.
Oh no, it's not, and that was something that I definitely learned very quickly. So it was a little bit of a financial barrier there, so I had to take a different route. I found someone locally and he kind of, picked up where the other one left off.
Right.
And and then went to a NPC workshop that Doug sponsored. It was at Ironworks Gym that year, and had the NPC judges for Mississippi
Yep.
attend, and gave us all this paperwork on how to get your NPC card and how to get your spray, what you have to do to get your spray tan,
All that fun stuff.
and what it took to get my bikini, which that was really that made me so nervous when it got to that point where I had to call the designer, pick a designer, and actually call them and say, I want to compete. I have no idea what I'm doing. Please help me.
That's awesome.
I can't afford a $1,500 suit. Can we work something out?
Can I get those cubics instead of those real diamonds, please?
Yeah. Yes. And so thankfully I literally had a whole list of designers to choose from, and I just kept going down the list, and I think the third one on the list is the one that I ended up choosing, and I still use her today.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And
So what year was this, by the way?
This was 2016.
2016.
So I was ready to compete in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started in November 1st of 2016, and the show was June 16th or 17th of 2017.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about this. What is it like? Because there's a difference between like working out for your health and pushing your body to try to compete in an NPC stage. Like, there's a big difference there.
There is.
What was it like battling CP while pushing yourself to reach that next level of your fitness?
It was definitely a roller coaster, because what it took for my my personal trainers, they had to be creative.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because there were, I know that the personal trainer that I have now, he just broke it down to me. He said there are exercises that I have all of my other athletes do, but because of your physical limitations, you're not quite, able to do, or it's not safe for you to do. So I have to, think what exercises can we do to get the same effect?
Right.
But you're not doing the same exercises. So
did you have to do a lot of stuff unilateral, like one arm, one leg at a time?
With some exercises, not all. It was just more so with like getting my heart rate up. So he said, I remember one example, he said, some of my athletes, I have them, jump on boxes and jump down. You can't do that, but I'm going to try this sled right here. And, we're going to start out pushing that. And by this time I had moved to Top Guns, gym and obstacle course in the past.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Clark.
Love my boy Clark. Shout out to Clark.
So I had, moved over there, and he had a sled, and we started going down the what's called the Green Mile.
Yep, I know. I'm very familiar with it.
And so we started, walking, just a regular walk, and pushing it to, okay, let's try picking up your speed. I want you to go as fast as you can.
Right.
And so that ended up being my best method of cardio, pushing that about, 10 plus times.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It'll
whip your butt.
Oh yes. Yes.
So
yes.
you're having to get very creative. And I think the main point I want to talk about that is, like, you have every reason to say no. You have every reason to say, okay, I tried, it didn't work. You have every reason to say this, okay, maybe this isn't for me. What kept you going? Like, what kept you wanting to push yourself?
What kept me wanting to push myself is I kept focused on the end result. I knew that I'm the type of person that when I set a goal for myself, I have to accomplish it. It doesn't matter how I get there, but as long as I accomplish it, that's what matters. So I had, already committed myself to this. So I was going to do whatever it took to finish it. And the fact that most would think that I would say no is all the more reason to say yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so you had a little competitiveness in you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just a little.
I like it. So you made a commitment to yourself. And you said, I don't care. I'm going to finish this.
Yeah, and I also kept in mind that it didn't matter what the outcome was. I didn't have to place.
That was my next question, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I didn't have to. I didn't have to win, a medal or anything. If I did, that would have been fantastic. But, or even if I, came out nationally, where I could be a nationally qualified, yeah, that would have been fantastic too. But the fact that I did it made me a winner anyway. So,
absolutely, it did.
So that's what I kept in mind.
I love that. And, I posted literally last week about the one and only time I competed in the NPC.
I saw that.
And it was the same thing you were just talking about. When I wanted to compete, it was a battle of my own insecurities. Mm-hmm. And I made the commitment to myself, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to finish this. A lot for the same reason. I've always worked out. I've always, since I started my journey, I've been healthy. And I'm like, okay, I need something new. I need a new goal. I need to push myself. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't thinking about competing until I started thinking about, okay, what's the biggest insecurity you deal with? And I'm also like writing my book at the same time I'm thinking about this. And my biggest insecurity that I had to face head on, because I have to practice what I preach, I can't publish a book about helping yourself if I'm not doing it for myself, was my body image issues. And I had a better body then than I have now, yet I still was battling with these issues. And I'm like, bro, there's no other way to overcome, no better way to overcome your body image issues than being half naked on stage.
Absolutely. And I had my fair share of issues too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we all go through it. And just like you said, there's no way to overcome that more so than to get out on stage, because, you're all in this together.
Right.
And after you've worked, for my first show, I worked, 32 weeks. So after 32 weeks, I didn't care how I looked. I was going to walk out there.
I love that. Because you made the commitment to yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to finish this commitment to myself.
I earned my right to wear that bikini.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
More than most. And, that's the same way it was for me. By the time that it was showtime, I could care less about my insecurities. Mm-hmm. I was so tired, drained, and malnourished at that point that I was almost in like La La Land. I'm like, blah, da, 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 da. I'm just on stage. I almost missed my stage, by the way.
Oh, no.
I was so, just out of it. And it's the first time I'm competing. I didn't really know what was going on. It was the first time my body had ever experienced, a little bit of dehydration. Mm-hmm. Playing college athletics, you're taught to overhydrate.
Right.
But bodybuilding, competing on stage, we got to pull a little bit of water out of you. So I think I was just so dehydrated. It was the same night. It was a Southern Muscle that just happened this past weekend. Uh-huh. That was my first competition. And for the night show, was the same night as LSU was playing Alabama or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And they made the mistake of having the game on backstage.
Oh, no.
So I'm watching the game while everybody's getting ready. I'm not pumping up or anything. I'm just I'm just ready to go do my thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just watching the game, and they started calling my number. And I'm so out of it. I'm just watching the game, completely in a daze. And all of a sudden, I snapped back into it because somebody screamed, where the F is 108 at?
That's how it happens.
I had to look down at my number. I was like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
I ran up on stage and struck a pose. It was so awkward.
Was it the picture that you posted? Was that what? Because you looked very poised.
I think that was the morning show.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that was still the morning show. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that night I just jumped up there and struck a pose. It was hilarious. But we make that commitment to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So for you competing, what was the hardest thing about it?
The posing.
Was it? Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the posing and the my first show, 2017,
Mm-hmm.
I was a nervous wreck, and it showed on stage.
Hold
Especially
on. Did you have a drink before you went on stage?
no, but I was told after the fact that would have been a great idea. And I was like, why are you just now telling me this?
Why did nobody hand me a glass of wine?
Why not? Please.
So actually, this is, me. I mixed pre-workout and wine.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Not healthy. Do not do that at home.
Please
I do not advise that.
Me either.
But that's what I did.
Wow. But there's a lot of hidden secrets.
There is. There absolutely is.
But I had a wonderful pose coach that Clark actually set me up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she's fantastic. But it was just my nerves.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that stage fright, and it starts from your toes and it works its way up. And so my legs like literally locked up, and they actually had Clark actually go out there on stage, to just kind of like spot me to make sure that I didn't fall over. Yeah. Thanks. But I was so nervous. But for this year's show, I felt a lot better. I felt like I owned it.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Because with posing, for those of you who don't know, in the world of bodybuilding and what she's talking about, posing is like this serious mind-muscle connection.
It is.
Like you have to literally like think your way through your entire body of, okay, I got to tighten my stomach, suck it in a little bit, breathe shallow while it's, I guess for women,
while not looking like you're breathing.
While not looking like you're breathing, while contracting my glutes and standing this way while arching my back and have this angle looking at this person. Mm-hmm. It's like a crazy process just to stand there.
Yes.
But it's a very detailed process where like you literally have to think about all that in a split second and pull it together. But one of the things about CP is like you have to be very conscious anyway.
Yes. I have to be very conscious, and then standing out there on stage, even though I guess in theory you're not on stage for a very long time, it might be 2 to 3 minutes.
Feels like forever.
It feels like 10 minutes. And so by me being nervous and by my legs, tightening up the way that they did, it was actually painful at some points.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to turn, and then, so it was I think that was I know that was the hardest part.
Right.
I wasn't worried about anything else. My biggest concern was don't fall over. Don't fall.
Right.
Take your time.
I was actually at this show, and I saw you, as soon as I saw you walk on stage, I was in the back of the room, and I started walking up. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And she completely inspired me that day. And I've never talked to her. Guys, this is what's weird. I literally reached out to her last week to have her on my podcast, even though I already knew who she was. She'd already inspired me. By my own shortcomings, I never, reached out to her to thank her for that. And I was talking to one of my friends, Dr. Rebecca Turner. She's a dietitian. She wrote a fantastic book called Mind Over Fork. And I'm talking to her last week. She's like, hey, you need to have Toni on your show. And when she said Toni, I'm like, who is Toni? I was just having a brain fart because my brain's like so ADD. And of course I pulled up my Facebook, Toni, yes. And I remember her competing, and I remember how special it was to see her on stage and watch her, walk out with such confidence. And I know like you were probably just crazy on the inside, but you put that smile on your face and you walked out there and you did it.
Yeah.
As scary as it was.
So scary.
You did it.
I did it.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
saying that.
Like literally inspiring a whole room of people. And you say it's only 2 or 3 minutes, but stuff like that has a lasting impact.
Wow.
And you know this.
I do, but just to hear you say that every time I hear that from you or from anyone that that comes up to me, says, hey, I saw you in the show, or I remember your story, or I saw you on the news. That just means so much. It's hard to put into words.
It is. But it's also what makes it worth it.
It does. Like it really does.
So bodybuilding, unlike a lot of other sports, it's one of the hardest in the world because it's you versus you. And I know a lot of other sports say that. But with bodybuilding, literally every decision you make from the time you decide to compete to the time you show up on stage shows up on stage.
It absolutely does.
From like with me, my biggest thing was my diet was good. I'm not scared to work hard. I wasn't sleeping enough. I was publishing my book, working a 50 to 60 hour week job, and competing in bodybuilding. I'm sleeping like 4 hours a night max.
Wow.
And so I know, like, yeah, I could have looked better on stage because of that, but I just had a lot going on and I did the best I could.
Yeah.
So every decision you make, and there's so much alone time because you're not going out with friends, you're not partying, you're not hanging out at the restaurant, you're not doing all those things, you're at home. And those demons like just are battling inside. You're like, hey, bro, just order a pizza. Like,
I know.
Go get some ice cream.
My TV stayed off a lot.
Did it?
Or I stayed away from the Food Network.
Okay, yeah. I don't watch the Food Network anymore. I can't do it. It makes me hungry. Mm-hmm. So what did you do to like kind of get through that?
I still actually hung out with friends, but I would bring my food with me everywhere.
Right.
And I was not ashamed to bring my food with me to a restaurant. Thank you to all the restaurants that allowed me to bring my food in and
Right.
eat.
Amen.
And the waiters and waitresses that were so nice. Are you sure you don't want anything to eat?
They're like peer pressuring you. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I still managed to do that because my post coach actually, because I was telling her that I felt like I was being taken away from, my family and friends. And she said, you have to create that balance.
Right.
You can't just, isolate yourself. So when she told me that, it was like she was giving me permission.
You hear that, competitors? You can still have a life while competing.
Absolutely. You have to, because it will, it can get the best of you.
Oh, yeah.
Emotionally. And then when you're done with the show, you're left with, well, what do I do now? And you don't want to do that. You always want to create that balance so that you can kind of glide back into real life.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents were always very helpful. My mom was always encouraging me, and my dad too. Hey, you look great. Because there would be times where I'll just be like, I don't want chicken and asparagus. I just give me a roll.
Yeah.
Can I have a bagel or something? And
yeah.
But then I'd say, no, I can't do it. And so, my mom would come in and say, Toni, you're doing so great. You look wonderful. I'm so proud of you. This is all going to be worth it. Just keep doing it.
Right. I love that. It's an amazing story. Because like I said, you had every reason to not do it, but now I'm understanding why. Like, you're addicted to personal growth. You're addicted to be a better version of yourself. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the biohacked life.
Thanks.
You're living it. You're a living example of what we talk about. And that's what's so beautiful about your journey is, yes, you were born with CP. You never let it slow you down. You never looked at it as a handicap or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And you just kept pushing forward and saying, okay, what's next? All right, I did that. What's next? Mm-hmm. So what is next?
Well, on the front of my radar, I would like to, I've been kind of toying with the idea of doing a 5K.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of want to take a little bit of a break from competing for next year, just because, just to kind of give myself time to grow. And, it's not always healthy to stay in that phase, mm-hmm. All the time. So I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break from that, still, remain active physically.
Right. Just other health challenges.
Yes.
Like, okay, let's do a 5K now. Why not?
5K. I've always wanted to try a CrossFit class. So
we can help you with that.
Yeah.
We can help you with that. So I love it.
Maybe go to a CrossFit class. Well, mm-hmm. Not maybe, actually go to one. I just got to figure out which CrossFit gym I'm going to go to. There's so many now.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's one in every corner.
Yeah. So, so if there's anyone out there that, I'm available.
Shout out to the CrossFit coaches.
Yes. But yeah, try a CrossFit class, a yoga class, maybe a bar class. Yeah.
Well, we do have bar intensity down here. Mm-hmm. That's what it's called. Yeah, because I was actually, looking at CP and just understanding a little more about it, I did notice a lot of people started doing yoga because it strengthens this muscle while elongating the muscle.
Okay.
So yeah, that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Kind of give you a little more balance in there.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I always preach this, I mean, it's about your health. Competing is fun. CrossFit's fun. All that's fun. But, I'm sacrificing right now some of my workout time that I love doing to go to physical therapy. And I've been battling. Of course, my knees are shot. Like, that's just a whole other subject. But
Yeah.
my shoulder's messed up, too. I'm missing a chunk of bone out of my shoulder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, we all have our obstacles that
we
we're
do.
dealing with.
We absolutely
It's all
do.
about how you.
How you look at it.
Yeah.
The pair of glasses you wear. So, like, I'm sacrificing some of my workout time to go to physical therapy. And I'm taking, like, a short-term step back to hopefully take a couple steps forward. Because, like, I can't throw a football. I can't do anything overhead. Like, it's not fun, especially when you enjoy lifting weights. Okay, so yeah, just you're going to keep going, maybe a 5K. Okay, let's go ahead and set this right now. Within the next 10 days, you're going to do a CrossFit class. Let's make a goal to go ahead and do that.
Okay. Cool.
Put that on your calendar. If you need to, I'll help you make that happen.
Okay.
I will literally show up and make sure you show up.
Okay. Accountability.
Yep, exactly. Everybody needs a good accountability in their life. So next 10 days, you're going to do a CrossFit class.
I will.
You want to do it.
Yep.
Okay, well, it's done.
No 5 a.m. class though.
Oh, girl, I don't get up at 5 a.m.
Okay.
No, ma'am. I don't do that. When the sun comes up, that's when I enjoy getting up, not before.
Yes.
All right. Well, fantastic. If you had to leave everybody with a lesson after everything you've been through, what would that be? Like, what's the greatest lesson you've learned so far in life?
I'm going to share a quote that my mom shared with me last night. We have this, we started this tradition where, because I've always said she's so wise, I want to remember the things that she shared with me, have those things to look back on. So the one that she shared with me last night was that your failures are not your future. They're history.
Yes.
So don't dwell on them.
I want to meet your mom. She's amazing.
She's a really good cook. So.
Yeah, I love food. So failure's not your future.
Yes.
That is unbelievably true. I've never heard it put in those words before. Like you heard people say your past doesn't define you and all of that. And that's actually, so I do a lot of work in schools, and that's one of the biggest things that I try to instill in kids is just that message is your circumstances don't define you. Your past doesn't define you. Only you can define you.
Absolutely.
And what your mom's basically saying is, look, stuff happens in life. I have this crazy journey of a life where I've made a ton of mistakes, had a lot of crazy stuff happen to me. But just as you're talking about, I flipped the paradigm of how I looked at it. And I look at it like that and saying, okay, well, what is this trying to teach me? Why did I just go through that? Why did I go through this season of my life? What is this trying to teach me? And go, Mom. So that's the biggest lesson that you want to tell people.
Yes.
Awesome.
There's a reason why she told me that.
Well, why?
Last night. And it was for this.
Hold on. She told you this last night?
Yes. Yes, because she tells me something, she gives me a, something either throughout the week or, every night or just whenever it comes to mind. She always starts out with words of Mother Wise.
Words of Mother Wise.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing why she told you that?
It just came to her. She doesn't have a reason. It's just whatever comes to her mind. But I'm saying, I think, everything happens for a reason and there's a purpose for everything. And I think that looking in hindsight that, that came to her mind for me to share that with all of you today.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, because your past is really there to teach you and to help you grow. It's not there to hold you down. Your past is not your failure. It's not your future. Amen, Mom. Mm-hmm. I love it. Okay. So where can people go to follow your journey?
Well, I am on social media. I am on Facebook under Toni Soto. And then I'm on Instagram under Toni double underscore Soto. So Toni, Toni underscore Soto, Soto.
Awesome. Awesome. And just one last thing before we close, Toni, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being an inspiration to people. I want to thank you for just grabbing life by the horns, not letting anything hold you back, and just being in that growth mindset that I wish more people would learn how to do it. But I think by you inspiring people, by you doing what you're doing, you're showing people that you really can do anything you want to. And we may have obstacles in our way, we may have things holding us back, but they're just like speed bumps in the road of life. So I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, it's been amazing, and I hope some people out there really listen to this and grab a hold of, the lessons that you have taught us during this. So guys, that's it for this episode of the Biohacked Life. As always, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. We are on iTunes and Spotify as of now. And also this episode will be on YouTube as well.
Cool. You're also on CastBox.
Am I?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I didn't know that.
Android users.
Well, that's the whole reason I put my podcast on Spotify, was for Android users.
Yep.
So CastBox, well, hey, go check us out there too. But if you want to support the podcast, don't forget, guys, this is all about the Rise Up Health Initiative, where we are promoting mental health in our schools. So if you want to support this podcast, that's where you're going to go to do it. Go to RobbyD'Angelo.com and click on Rise Up. Also want to let you know, guys, the merch is available on the website as well. We have officially put the Biohacked Life merchandise up there, so go check that out. It's on the website as well. Toni, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Until then, guys, go love and change the world.